because you get so much exposure to so many different businesses, what are some of the trends that you're seeing, or what are some of the opportunities that you're putting your money into right now that investors, you think investors should be looking at?
Well, your question reminds me of the movie when I was young called The Graduate, when Dustin Hoffman asked that question of a guy at a cocktail party, and the guy told him plastics, get into the plastics industry. I don't think we can make a recommendation like that because it's really hard to be an entrepreneur and really get past all the twists and turns in the road and, deal with the competitive and market challenges that you're going to face along the way. It's really hard to build an entrepreneurial venture. And if you're not really passionate about what it is you're doing, you're just not going to have the tenacity to get past all of those, bricks in the road. So I tell people, find a problem that you really want to solve, a real problem that exists in some business or exists among some segment of consumers. Or maybe you find something that's not done very well, like coffee shops in the US 40 years ago, and you're Howard Schultz and say, well, could I make a nicer coffee bar experience? Instead of charging 50 cents, I'll charge back then $3. You can do one of two things. You can either provide customer delight, make something, radically better for the customer than it used to be, or you can solve a compelling problem. And as Vinod Khosla, one of the famous Silicon Valley investors of all time, said, nobody will pay you to solve a non-problem, no problem, no business. So I tell people, don't worry about what sector, find a problem. And typically that's a problem, if you've been in the business world for a while, it's a problem in the industry you work in, or maybe it's a problem in the market you serve. As I point out in my first book, The New Business Road Test, markets and industries are different things. It's important to understand that distinction. But typically you'll find something that isn't quite right and you can make it better. And that's what you ought to do. And happily these days, because it's much, much cheaper to start most kinds of businesses today, especially if there's a digital component to them, it's easy to get rolling, whether it's in good times or bad. If you can solve a customer problem, that's a compelling one, that customer is going to pay you to solve that problem. And then you're going to have some cash in hand to go get the next customer and the next one. And pretty soon you got a viable business.